The wedding hall glittered under the midday sun, but the moment turned cold when a young black maid stepped forward, tears streaking her face. Laughter erupted from the bride as she sneered, "Girls like you don't belong in the light. Stay invisible." The crowd shifted uneasily, silence choking the air. And then, trembling but resolute, the maid whispered, "I can't stay quiet anymore." The wedding hall shimmered under the noon sun, chandeliers glittering over rows of white roses and silk chairs. But silence fell when a young black maid, no older than 20, stepped forward, her tray slipping from trembling hands. Gasps rippled as the bride, in her jeweled gown, sneered loudly, "Girls like you don't belong in the spotlight. Stay invisible, like the furniture you polish." The crowd shifted uncomfortably, but no one spoke. Tears welled in the maid's eyes as she lifted her chin, her voice breaking, "I can't stay quiet anymore." The room grew tense as every eye turned toward the young maid. Her hands trembled, but she refused to step back. The bride laughed coldly, waving toward her. "Someone remove this girl. She's embarrassing herself." A few guests nodded uneasily, unsure if they should intervene. The maid's eyes searched the crowd, but no one moved. She stood alone, her chest rising and falling as if the air itself had turned heavy. One elderly guest shifted uncomfortably, whispering, "She looks terrified." The bride leaned closer, lowering her voice but loud enough for the front rows to hear, "Know your place. You'll never be more than a servant." Those words struck harder than any slap, making the maid's tears spill over. She clutched a folded napkin in her fist, round pushpin a tiny gesture, but it carried the weight of humiliation. She raised her voice again, breaking through the whispers. "You all need to know who she really is." Her voice cracked, but determination burned beneath the pain. Then, turning toward the guests, she asked, "What would you do if this happened to you?" The bride's laughter echoed through the hall, sharp and cruel. "You think anyone here will believe a maid?" she snapped, her words dripping with contempt. "You carry trays, you clean floors. That's all you are." The crowd gasped, but no one spoke. The maid stood frozen, as though the marble beneath her shoes had turned to ice. Her voice faltered, barely audible. "I wish I didn't know this, but I do." She reached for her apron pocket, pulling out a crumpled envelope. Her hands shook as she unfolded it, the ink smudged but legible. A murmur spread, letters, dates, instructions. One guest leaned forward, whispering, "That's a plan." The bride lunged forward, eyes blazing. "Don't you dare," she hissed, trying to snatch it away. In the scuffle, the envelope fell, sliding across the polished floor toward the groom's feet. He bent down slowly, his face paling as he read the words. His jaw tightened, his breathing quickened. The maid's tears fell freely now. "She doesn't love you," she said, voice breaking but steady. "She wants to destroy your family. Starting with your father." The entire hall erupted in shocked murmurs, guests rising from their seats. For a moment, the bride looked triumphant, but then the groom's eyes hardened, stone cold. The groom's voice cut through the chaos, deep and steady. "Enough." He held the envelope high for everyone to see, his hand trembling with fury. Turning to his bride, he said in a tone that silenced the hall, "You dared bring murder into my family's home?" The bride's face drained of color, her confident smirk collapsing into panic. "It's not what it looks like," she stammered, but the words fell flat. The maid stood motionless, tears streaking her cheeks, her gaze fixed on the man she had just saved. For a moment, the hall held its breath. Then the groom pulled out his phone, pressing 3 numbers with deliberate calm. 911, he said, his eyes never leaving the woman in white. "We have a threat at the wedding. Send units now." Guests gasped, some covering their mouths, others whispering prayers. As officers rushed in minutes later, the bride was handcuffed before the very altar she had tried to claim. The maid, still shaking, lowered her head. She hadn't sought glory, only truth. The groom placed a hand on her shoulder, his voice softer now, "You saved my father. You saved us all." And in the heavy silence that followed, the chandeliers still shone, but it was justice, bright, undeniable, that lit the room.